The alarm bells rang through the Earth Defense Command Center as Commander Jake Morrison watched the massive ships appear on his screens. They came from nowhere, just suddenly there beyond the orbit of Mars, their crystalline hulls glowing with an eerie blue light that made his skin crawl. Jake had been commanding the diplomatic vessel Exeter Horizon for 3 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, we're getting readings of 12 massive vessels," reported Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her position at the sensor station. "They're each about 5 kilometers long and seem to be made of some kind of living crystal." Jake nodded grimly and opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. "This is Commander Morrison of the EDS Horizon. We have contact with unknown vessels at coordinates 77 Alpha, requesting immediate backup and instructions." The response came from Admiral Lisa Carter herself, her voice tight with tension. "Morrison, you are to attempt peaceful contact only. Do not make any aggressive moves. We're sending reinforcements, but they won't reach you for 6 hours. Before Jake could respond, his communication officer, Lieutenant Tony Mitchell, called out, "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. It's coming through in perfect English." "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge step back. The creature was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished metal and eyes that burned with cold fire. It wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor covered in strange symbols that seemed to move when you looked at them directly. "Primitive humans," the creature spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "I am Supreme War Chancellor Crickstyle of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been judged and found wanting. You have 7 of your rotations around your star to surrender unconditionally or face complete extinction." Jake found his voice. "Commander Morrison representing Earth. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your people." The alien's laugh was like breaking glass. "Diplomatic relations? You insects speak of diplomacy? We are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 3,000 worlds and destroyed 500 species that dared to resist us. Your pathetic weapons and primitive technology are toys compared to our might." "We don't want conflict," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Surely we can find a peaceful solution." "Peace is what you will have when you kneel before us as slaves," Crickstall replied. "To demonstrate our power, we shall destroy one of your settlements. Watch and learn the price of defiance." The transmission ended, and immediately Jake's tactical officer called out, "Sir, one of their ships is moving toward Luna. It's heading straight for Shepherd Base." Jake felt his blood turn to ice. Shepherd Base was a mining colony on the far side of the moon with over 3,000 people. "Get me Admiral Carter immediately." Before the connection could be established, the alien ship fired a single pulse of energy. The beam struck Shepherd Base, and the entire facility simply vanished in a flash of light. 3,000 men, women, and children were gone in an instant, leaving only a crater where the base had stood. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Rodriguez. "They killed everyone." Admiral Carter's face appeared on the screen, her expression grim. "Morrison, return to Earth immediately. We need to convene an emergency session of the World Council." As the EDS Horizon began its journey back to Earth, Jake stared at the alien fleet through the viewscreen. The 12 crystalline ships hung in space like predators waiting for prey, their blue glow seeming to mock humanity's helplessness. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter stood before the emergency assembly of world leaders in the Crisis Command Center deep beneath the Colorado Mountains. President Helen Rodriguez looked exhausted as she addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history. These Zephyrians have given us 7 days to surrender or face extinction. Our conventional weapons are useless against their technology." General Robert Hayes, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, stood up. "Ma'am, we have nuclear weapons, plasma cannons, and orbital defense platforms." "Surely we can put up a fight," Admiral Carter shook her head. "General, they destroyed Shepherd Base with a single shot. Our best estimates suggest their shields could withstand a direct nuclear strike without taking damage. We're facing an enemy that considers us about as dangerous as ants." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, President Rodriguez spoke. What about the Nevada project? The one you've been funding for 15 years? Admiral Carter glanced around the room nervously. Ma'am, that project is classified at the highest levels. Only a handful of people know about it. Admiral, we're facing extinction. I think it's time to share what we know. Carter took a deep breath. For the past 15 years, Dr. Peter Goldman and his team have been working on something called the Dark Matter Manipulation Program. They've been trying to harness the energy and properties of dark matter. Secretary of Defense Kevin Murphy leaned forward. And what exactly is dark matter? It's the invisible substance that makes up most of the universe, Carter explained. We can't see it or touch it, but it's everywhere, Dr. Goldman believes. We can use it to create weapons and vehicles that exist partially in normal space and partially in dark matter dimensions. President Rodriguez frowned. And this actually works? We have 12 prototype vessels that are completely invisible to conventional sensors. They can phase in and out of normal space, travel faster than light through dark matter currents, and fire weapons that bypass energy shields by striking at the quantum level. The room buzzed with excitement and disbelief. General Hayes stood up again. Why weren't we informed of this earlier? Because we weren't sure it would work, Carter replied. And because if it failed, we didn't want to give false hope to humanity. President Rodriguez made her decision. Admiral, contact Dr. Goldman immediately. We need to know if this dark matter fleet can actually fight these aliens. As the meeting dispersed, Admiral Carter made her way to the Secure Communications Center. The fate of humanity now rested on a secret project that most people would consider impossible. She could only hope that human ingenuity would prove stronger than alien arrogance. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, the Zephyrian fleet waited with the patience of apex predators. Supreme War Chancellor Krikstal studied the primitive blue world below, already planning how to divide the human population among his officers as slaves. The humans had 6 days left to surrender, but he knew they would capitulate long before then. After all, they always did. The underground facility in Nevada looked like something from a science fiction movie. Dr. Peter Goldman led Admiral Carter and President Rodriguez through corridors lined with strange equipment that hummed with barely contained energy. The walls were covered in equations that seemed to shift and change when you looked at them directly. What you're about to see has been our life's work, Dr. Goldman said as they walked deeper into the facility. 15 years ago, we discovered that dark matter isn't just empty space. It's actually a parallel dimension that exists alongside our own reality. They stopped at a massive viewing window that looked out into a hangar bay. Inside, 12 ships hung in the air without any visible support. The vessels were sleek and black, but they seemed to flicker in and out of existence like mirages. My God, whispered President Rodriguez, they're beautiful. They're also completely invisible to any known sensor technology, Dr. Goldman explained. These ships exist partially in our dimension and partially in dark matter space. They can phase between dimensions at will, making them impossible to detect or hit with conventional weapons. Admiral Carter studied the ships with professional interest. What are their capabilities? They can travel faster than light by riding dark matter currents, Dr. Goldman said. They can phase through solid matter, including enemy ships and shields. Their weapons fire dark matter particles that strike targets at the quantum level, bypassing all known defenses. A tall man in a flight suit approached them. Ma'am, I'm Captain Ryan Brooks, commander of the prototype vessel A's Phantom. We've been testing these ships for 2 years now. President Rodriguez shook his hand. Captain, can these ships actually fight the Zephyrians? Ma'am, we've run simulations against every known weapon system, Brooks replied. The aliens can't see us, can't track us, and can't hit us. We can appear anywhere, strike without warning, and disappear before they know what happened. Dr. Goldman activated a holographic display showing the dark matter fleet's specifications. Each ship has a crew of 12 specialists. They're equipped with dark matter torpedoes, quantum pulse cannons, and dimensional mines. The weapons can phase through enemy shields and detonate inside their targets. Admiral Carter frowned. How Do we know this will work against alien technology? Because dark matter exists in every dimension, Dr. Goldman explained. No matter how advanced their shields are, they can't protect against weapons that strike from dark matter space. It's like trying to block a knife with a shadow. Captain Brooks led them to his ship, the EDS Phantom. The vessel was about 200 meters long and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. As they approached, the hull became solid enough to walk on. The ship responds to the crew's intentions, Brooks explained. When we want to phase into normal space, it becomes solid. When we want to hide, it slips into dark matter dimensions where nothing can find us. Inside the ship, they met the crew. Navigator Emma Walsh was a former astronaut who had learned to plot courses through dark matter currents. Weapons officer Tony Mitchell had spent years learning to target enemies from multiple dimensions simultaneously. The hardest part was learning to think in 4 dimensions, Walsh explained. In dark matter space, you can see everything that's happening in normal space, but you exist outside of it. It's like being a ghost watching the living world. President Rodriguez looked around the bridge with wonder. How many people know about this project? Less than 50, Dr. Goldman replied. We've kept it secret because we weren't sure it would work. Even now, we're not certain how the ships will perform in actual combat. Admiral Carter studied the tactical displays. How long would it take to prepare for combat operations? We've been ready for months, Captain Brooks said. Each ship has a hand-picked crew of specialists. We've been training for this moment since the project began. Meanwhile, above them, the Zephyrian fleet had moved closer to Earth. Supreme War Chancellor Krickstall stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive blue world with contempt. His officers were already planning the conquest. Supreme Chancellor, reported his tactical officer, our scans show no significant military activity. The humans appear to be preparing for surrender. Krickstall nodded with satisfaction. As expected, these primitives know they cannot match our power. Begin broadcasting surrender terms to their major population centers. The alien broadcasts appeared on every screen on Earth. Krickstall's image filled billions of televisions and computer monitors as he delivered his ultimatum. Humans of Earth, he announced, you have witnessed our power. Your moon base was destroyed to show you the futility of resistance. You have 5 days remaining to surrender unconditionally. Your leaders will present themselves for judgment, and your population will be divided among our officers as slaves. In the Nevada facility, President Rodriguez watched the broadcast with growing anger. Admiral, how soon can we launch these ships? We can have them ready within hours, Admiral Carter replied. But ma'am, we only have 12 ships. They have hundreds. Captain Brooks stepped forward. Ma'am, numbers don't matter when the enemy can't see you coming. We can strike their entire fleet before they know we exist. Dr. Goldman pulled up another display showing the Zephyrian fleet positions. Their ships are arranged in a standard battle formation. They're confident that nothing can threaten them. That confidence will be their downfall. The decision was made. Within hours, the 12 ships of the Dark Matter Fleet were being prepared for launch. Each crew ran through final checks on their impossible vessels. Captain Brooks stood on the bridge of the EDS Phantom as his ship prepared to phase into dark matter space. Emma, plot a course to the alien fleet. Tony, arm all weapon systems. We're going to show these bullies what happens when they threaten humanity. The ship began to fade from normal space, slipping into the dark matter dimension where it would be invisible to alien sensors. One by one, the other 11 ships followed, disappearing like ghosts into the void from the Zephyrian fleet. There was no indication that anything had changed. Their sensors showed empty space where the dark matter. Ships now moved like invisible predators stalking their prey. The hunt was about to begin. The first strike came at dawn when the Zephyrian fleet opened fire on Earth's major cities. Brilliant beams of energy lanced down from space, turning military bases into glass craters and reducing orbital defense platforms to scattered debris. The Pentagon disappeared in a flash of light, followed by NORAD and the European Space Command Headquarters, Supreme War Chancellor Krickstall watched the destruction from his flagship with cold satisfaction. The humans are learning the price of defiance. Continue the bombardment until they beg for mercy. General Vextar, commanding the assault on North America, reported from his position above New York. Supreme Chancellor, their primitive weapons cannot even scratch our shields. This conquest will be over within hours. What neither alien commander knew was that 12 invisible ships were already moving through their formation like ghosts. The dark matter fleet had phased into normal space directly among the Zephyrian vessels. Completely undetected by their sensors, Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the Ed's Phantom, watching the alien flagship through his dimensional viewer. The massive crystalline vessel was less than a kilometer away, its crew confident in their invincibility. "Tony, target their main reactor," Brooks ordered his weapons officer. "Emma, prepare to phase us back into dark matter space immediately." After firing, Tony Mitchell's hands moved across his controls with practiced precision. "Dark matter torpedoes armed and ready, Captain. The enemy shields won't even register our attack until it's too late." The torpedoes launched from the Phantom, invisible weapons that existed in dark matter space until they reached their target. They phased through the Zephyrian flagship shields as if they weren't there. Striking the reactor core directly, the explosion was spectacular. The 5-kilometer-long crystalline ship erupted in a brilliant flash that lit up the solar system. Supreme War Chancellor Kriegstall and his entire crew were vaporized instantly, their flagship reduced to glowing fragments that scattered across space. "Direct hit," reported Tony with grim satisfaction. "The flagship is destroyed." The destruction of their command ship sent shockwaves through the Zephyrian fleet. General Vextar stared in disbelief at the debris field where his supreme commander had been moments before. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our sensors show no enemy ships in the area." His tactical officer was equally confused. "Sir, the explosion came from inside their shields. Nothing could have penetrated their defenses." Before Vextar could respond, another Zephyrian cruiser exploded nearby. Captain Susan Harris, commanding the EDS Wraith, had phased her ship directly through the enemy vessel's hull, leaving dark matter charges that tore it apart from within. "We're under attack by invisible enemies," Vextar broadcast to the fleet. "All ships maximum defensive posture. Deploy quantum scanners and reality anchors." The Zephyrian ships began frantically, activating every sensor system they possessed, trying to locate their unseen attackers. But the dark matter fleet existed in a dimension their technology couldn't reach. Lieutenant Commander Danny Foster, aboard the EDS Shade, used his ship's unique ability to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. He attacked 3 enemy vessels at once, his quantum pulse cannons striking from impossible angles. "This is incredible," Foster reported to the fleet. "I can hit them from above, below, and inside their own formation at the same time. They have no idea where the attacks are coming from." The Zephyrian fleet was in chaos. Ships that had conquered. Hundreds of worlds were being destroyed by an enemy they couldn't see or fight. Admiral Quindle, commanding the European assault group, watched in horror as his vessels exploded one by one. "Retreat to minimum safe distance," he ordered. "We need to regroup and analyze this threat." But the dark matter fleet could travel faster than the Zephyrian ships could flee. Captain Brooks coordinated the pursuit, his vessels hunting down the escaping aliens like wolves chasing sheep. "They're trying to reach the outer system," reported Navigator Emma Walsh. "Should we let them go?" "Negative," Brooks replied. "We can't let them escape to report back to their empire. Every ship must be destroyed." The EDS Phantom materialized directly in front of a fleeing Zephyrian destroyer. The alien crew had a split second to see the impossible black ship before. Dark matter torpedoes ended their existence. Captain Amy Rodriguez, commanding the EDS Spectre, had developed a new tactic. She would phase her ship partially into normal space, just enough to let the aliens see her before vanishing again. The psychological effect was devastating. "They're calling us demons and ghosts," Rodriguez reported with dark humor. "Their crew? Morale is completely broken. The battle became a massacre. Zephyrian vessels that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia were being systematically destroyed by ships that seemed to violate the laws of physics. The aliens' advanced technology was useless against enemies who attacked from dimensions they couldn't perceive. General Vextar made a desperate decision. All ships run the nearest visible target. If we're going to die, we'll take some of them with us. But the dark matter ships simply phased out of normal space, letting the Zephyrian vessels pass through them harmlessly before reappearing to strike from behind. Commander Kevin Murphy, aboard the A's Ghost, discovered that his dark matter weapons could disrupt the aliens' faster-than-light drives. Zephyrian ships trying to escape found themselves trapped in normal space, unable to flee. "They're sitting ducks now," Murphy reported. "Their escape systems are completely disabled." Within 6 hours, the entire Zephyrian invasion fleet was destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped to carry word of their defeat back to the Empire. The space around Earth was filled with the glowing debris of what had once been the most feared military force in the galaxy. President Rodriguez watched the battle from the command center, hardly believing what she was seeing. "Admiral, how many of our ships did we lose?" "None, ma'am," Admiral Carter replied with amazement. "The dark matter fleet is completely intact. The aliens never managed to hit a single one of our vessels." The victory was complete, but Captain Brooks knew this was only the beginning. The Zephyrian Empire would eventually notice that their invasion fleet had vanished, and they would send more ships to investigate. "This is just the first round," he told his crew. "When they realize what happened here, they'll come back with everything they have." But for now, Earth was safe, and humanity had proven that even the galaxy's greatest bullies could be defeated by ingenuity and determination. The news of the impossible defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Fleet Marshal Vexron stood in the war room of the Zephyrian homeworld, staring at the empty space where his invasion fleet's signals had been. 300 ships had vanished without a trace, their last transmissions speaking of invisible enemies and impossible attacks. "How does an entire fleet simply disappear?" demanded Emperor Zixcal, his crystalline form crackling with fury. "The humans are primitives, with crude weapons and primitive technology." Fleet Marshal Vexron had conquered more worlds than any other Zephyrian commander. He had never faced a defeat in 2 centuries of warfare. "My Emperor, the reports speak of ships that cannot be detected, weapons that pass through shields, and attacks from multiple dimensions simultaneously." "Impossible," the Emperor snarled. "No species has ever developed such technology. Send the Grand Armada. 300 ships will crush these insects once and for all." Vexron bowed deeply. "It shall be done, my Emperor. I will personally lead the assault and discover the secret of human invisibility." Within days, the largest fleet in Zephyrian history was assembled. 300 of their most advanced warships, each equipped with the latest weapons and sensor systems. The Grand Armada was a force that had destroyed entire star systems and reduced proud civilizations to ash on Earth. Admiral Carter received the sobering intelligence reports. "They're coming with everything they have." Our spy satellites detected fleet movements from 17 different systems, all converging on Earth. President Rodriguez looked exhausted. The stress of the past weeks had aged her years. "Can our dark matter fleet handle that many ships?" "We're about to find out," Captain Brooks replied from the secure communication link. "But we have advantages they don't know about. Dr. Goldman has been working on new applications for the dark matter technology." In the Nevada facility, Dr. Goldman was showing his latest breakthrough to the assembled leadership. "We've discovered that dark matter can be used defensively as well as offensively. We can create shields that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." He activated a holographic display showing a massive installation. "This is Project Shadow Wall. We can build dark matter generators that will make entire planets invisible to conventional sensors. If necessary, we can make Earth itself disappear from normal space." The implications were staggering. Earth could become a ghost world, existing but invisible to any alien technology. But the construction would take months, and the Zephyrian Grand Armada would arrive in weeks. We need to stop them before they reach Earth, Admiral Carter decided. Captain Brooks, can your fleet engage them in deep space? Ma'am, we've been developing new tactics specifically for large-scale engagements, Brooks replied. The dark matter ships can coordinate attacks across vast distances and strike simultaneously at multiple targets. The dark matter fleet had grown from 12 experimental vessels to 18 operational ships, each crewed by specialists who had learned to think in 4 dimensions. They were humanity's only hope against the approaching armada, Captain Brooks stood on the bridge of the EDS Phantom as his ship moved through dark matter space toward the edge of the solar system. Emma, what's our position relative to the enemy fleet? Navigator Emma Walsh consulted her dimensional charts. Sir, we're positioned directly above their formation. They're moving in a standard battle configuration, completely unaware of our presence. The Zephyrian Grand Armada was indeed impressive. 300 crystalline ships arranged in perfect formation, their blue glow visible from millions of kilometers away. Fleet Marshal Vexron commanded from the massive flagship Eternal Domination, confident that no force in the galaxy could stand against him. Deploy all sensor arrays, he ordered. These humans have some kind of stealth technology, but we will find it. Begin deep scans of all dimensions and quantum frequencies. The Zephyrian ships activated every detection system they possessed. Quantum resonance scanners, dimensional anchors, reality stabilizers, and gravimetric sensors swept the surrounding space. But the dark matter fleet remained invisible, existing in a dimension their technology couldn't reach. Captain Brooks coordinated the attack from his position in dark matter space. All ships target the command vessels first. We need to disrupt their coordination before they can adapt to our tactics. The assault began with surgical precision. Dark matter torpedoes materialized inside the bridges of enemy command ships, their quantum explosions vaporizing the alien commanders before they could react. 18 ships simultaneously struck 18 targets, leaving the Grand Armada leaderless and confused. Fleet Marshal Vexron watched in horror as his flagship officers were killed by weapons that seemed to come from nowhere. How are they getting through our shields? Where are these attacks coming from? His tactical officer was frantically adjusting sensors. Sir, the weapons are phasing through our defenses as if they don't exist. It's as if they're attacking from inside our own ships. Captain Susan Harris, commanding the EDS Wraith, had developed a new technique. She would phase her ship partially into normal space, just enough to be detected, then vanish the moment the aliens fired at her. The psychological effect was devastating to enemy morale. They're starting to panic, Harris reported. Some of their ships are firing at empty space, convinced they're seeing targets that aren't there. The battle became a nightmare for the Zephyrian forces. Their advanced weapons were useless against enemies they couldn't see or predict. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were being systematically destroyed by attackers who seemed to exist outside the laws of physics. Commander Kevin Murphy, aboard the ITS Ghost, discovered that concentrated dark matter beams could disrupt the aliens' faster-than-light communication systems. The Grand Armada was not only being destroyed but also cut off from reinforcements. Their communication network is down, Murphy reported. They can't call for help or coordinate their defenses. Captain Amy Rodriguez, commanding the EDS Spectre, led a group of dark matter ships in a coordinated assault on the enemy's heavy cruisers. Her vessels would appear simultaneously around a target, fire from multiple angles, then vanish before the aliens could respond. It's like fighting ghosts, one captured Zephyrian officer would later confess. They appear from nowhere, strike without warning, and disappear before you can fight back. The Grand Armada, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire, was being systematically destroyed by 18 ships that shouldn't exist. Fleet Marshal Vexron made a final desperate decision. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. We need to regroup and develop new tactics. But the dark matter fleet could travel faster than the Zephyrian ships could flee, and Captain Brooks had no intention of letting them escape to threaten Earth again. The destruction of the Zephyrian Grand Armada sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy that would reshape the balance of power forever. Fleet Marshal Vexron's flagship was among the last to fall, its crystalline hull cracking under the assault of weapons that struck from impossible angles. As his ship died around him, the veteran commander sent one final message to his emperor. The humans possess technology beyond our understanding. They fight like demons from another dimension. The Empire must sue for peace before they destroy. U.S. all, the message never reached the Zephyrian homeworld. Captain Brooks and his dark matter fleet had made sure no alien ship escaped to carry word of their defeat. The galaxy's greatest military force had simply vanished, leaving behind only debris and unanswered questions. Within weeks, the first alien ambassadors began arriving at Earth. The Altarian Republic, which had suffered under Zephyrian rule for 8 centuries, sent their finest diplomat to meet with President Rodriguez. Ambassador Calthara's ship approached Earth slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions on every frequency. "President Rodriguez," the elegant blue-skinned alien said. "During their first meeting, my people have dreamed of this day for generations. The species that accomplished the impossible, that defeated the undefeatable Zephyrians, we wish to learn from you and stand beside you." Similar delegations arrived from across the galaxy. The Vegan Alliance, the Centauri Federation, the Outer Rim colonies, and dozens of other civilizations that had lived in fear of Zephyrian expansion. All came seeking alliance with the mysterious humans who had shattered the Empire's invincibility. Dr. Goldman worked tirelessly to expand the dark matter technology beyond individual ships. The massive installations he had envisioned became reality. As Project Shadow Wall entered full production, entire planets could now be shielded from conventional weapons, hidden in dark matter dimensions where no enemy could find them. "We're not just building defenses," Dr. Goldman explained to the assembled world leaders. "We're creating a new type of civilization, one that exists between dimensions, invisible to those who would harm us." The dark matter fleet grew from 18 ships to over 50 as Earth's shipyards worked around the clock. Each vessel was crewed by specialists who had learned to navigate the strange physics of dark matter space. They became humanity's ambassadors to the galaxy, their ghost ships serving as both protectors and symbols of Earth's new power. Captain Brooks, now promoted to admiral, stood on the bridge of his flagship as it patrolled the outer reaches of known space. The Ed's Phantom had become legendary throughout the galaxy, a ship that could appear anywhere without warning and vanish just as quickly. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian border worlds," reported his communications. "Officer, they're requesting permission to surrender." Brooks smiled grimly. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, reduced to a fraction of its former strength, was finally learning the meaning of fear. Their remaining territories were in revolt, their slave species rising up against their former masters. "Tell them to contact Earth Defense Command," Brooks replied. "Surrender terms will be negotiated through proper diplomatic channels." The negotiations took place on a neutral space station in the Proxima system. The Zephyrian delegation, led by the surviving members of their High Council, faced Admiral Carter and the newly formed Terran Confederacy Council. "We acknowledge the superiority of human technology," spoke Council Prime Nex Vorin, his once proud voice now hollow with defeat. "The Zephyrian Empire formally surrenders and requests terms for peace." Admiral Carter, now promoted to Fleet Admiral of the Terran Space Command, studied the alien delegation with cold eyes. "Your empire has terrorized the galaxy for millennia. Hundreds of species have suffered under your rule. Why should we show you mercy?" "Because," Nex Vorin replied quietly, "we are no longer the threat we once were. Our military is shattered, our territories are in rebellion, and our people are learning to live without conquest. We seek only to survive. The peace terms were harsh but fair. The Zephyrian Empire would be dissolved, its former territories granted independence. War criminals would face justice before galactic tribunals. The remaining Zephyrian population would be relocated to a single world under Terran supervision, but the real change came in the formation of the Terran Confederacy. New galactic alliance with Earth at its center. Species that had once cowered before crystalline warships now looked to the dark matter fleet as guarantors of their freedom. President Rodriguez, re-elected for a second term, addressed the first Galactic Congress from the orbital station that had become the new seat of interstellar government. We gather not as conquerors but as protectors. The age of galactic bullies is over. The Confederacy's first act was to establish the Dark Matter Defense Force, a fleet of over 100 ghost ships that patrolled the galaxy's trade routes and protected smaller civilizations from would-be conquerors. No longer would the strong prey upon the weak without consequence. Captain Susan Harris, now commanding the exploration vessel ED's Discovery, led the first mission to the galaxy's outer rim. Her ship could travel faster than light through dark matter currents, opening up vast new regions of space for exploration and colonization. We're finding entire civilizations that have been hiding from the Zephyrians for centuries, Harris reported. They're amazed that the Empire is gone. Some of them don't even believe it at first. The technology that had saved humanity continued to evolve. Dr. Goldman's research teams developed new applications for dark matter manipulation, from faster-than-light communication networks to planetary defense systems that could hide entire star systems from hostile forces. Earth itself became a fortress world, protected by dark matter shields that could make it invisible to any threat. The blue planet that had once been a primitive backwater was now the most feared and respected power in the galaxy. Admiral Brooks stood in his quarters aboard the Aids Phantom, looking out at the stars through a viewport that showed both normal space and dark matter dimensions simultaneously. The galaxy was at peace for the first time in millennia, protected by ships that existed between worlds. Fleet Admiral Carter to all Dark Matter Defense Force vessels, came the familiar voice over the communication system. New reports of pirate activity in the Rigel sector. Respond with appropriate force. Brooks smiled as he felt his ship phase into dark matter space, becoming one with the invisible dimension that had given humanity its greatest victory. The Zephyrians had learned too late that in a universe where the strong preyed upon the weak, Earth's children had become the strongest. Of all, the age of galactic bullies was over, and the age of human protection had begun.